The 1983 film Videodrome is a film grasping at straws in the best possible way. It is almost a perfect film, in my opinion, if you take into account the limitations of its creation. It was made on a limited budget, a crunched shooting schedule. Scenes of the film had yet to be written while production was already filming. And most importantly, the film was made way too far ahead of its time. A film that was marketed to the lizard brain as the very piece of media that it was commenting on had violence, sex, and violence, and a Cronenberg signature of disturbing body horror. The true achievement of Videodrome is its commentary on a society that had yet to exist.
That's it.
A very early concept that Videodrome puts out is the overstimulation of humans, ourselves, with the use of media, which was something that was even evident back in 1983 with video games, television, movies. But the evolution of it to today is media is only more entrenched into our lives, and media isn't designed to just be rolled off the shoulder. It is designed to stimulate, to engage. That's how people who work in media make their money, is having as engaged people as possible. That's why you have people watching Twitch streams for hours and hours on end. That's why you have people who have porn addictions. So things have only progressed even worse, and I would say with the growth of virtual reality, it's only going to get worse. With AR and virtual reality, your feeling of being actually in the media or becoming one with the new flesh is only becoming more apparent. You have people who can put on VR goggles and experience any type of situation that they really want to experience. It is only a matter of time before the walls of simulation and simulacrum break down, and we won't know the difference between, being in a VR video game in real life. It'll be the Matrix, basically. One of the few concepts that I don't believe Videodrome predicted was the concept of, in today's media, it is quantity over quality, whereas in Videodrome, it is pedal to the metal, 100%, as stimulating, as engaging as humanly possible, which is Mac's ultimate goal, is to create a show or have the footage of a show that is the most stimulating, highest stimulation possible ever. Whereas today, media has a far more subdued sort of ebb and flow to it of trying to keep people engaged, but at the same time keep them on the hook for as long as possible. So that's why you have things like Twitch streams, subscription services where you can binge shows for hours and hours on end. It's something that it's like a slow morphine drip of content and stimulation. It's still very stimulating, but it's enough that you don't get tired of it, you don't get sort of exhausted and worn out from it all, but also you're still engaged to keep watching it. And that is how media today is used to maximize viewership, is enough just to trip your dopamine sensors, but not enough to make you feel satisfied, which in some ways is what Max experiences. He gets enough, he gets a taste, but he doesn't get 100% of what he's truly looking for, which I think is a piece of what Videodrome was trying to say, is this stimulation is inherently false. It's inherently fake. It's not an actual experience. Whether you're in virtual reality, even if you can make it look and sound and feel almost real, it still isn't real. Videodrome hit the nail right on the head when it comes to predicting the future as far as the internet that, people are slaves to the media that they ingest and are being controlled by it, which today is extremely apparent. The obvious, most sort of cutesy one is the use of usernames. Brian Oblivion makes it obvious that when you're no longer existing in your corporeal form, whether it is in video, whether it's in some metaphysical space of some equivalent of virtual reality, you're no longer your physical person as far as your experience with that other person. If you're in the room with someone, that is a physical experience where your name actually has meaning to your body being in the room with that other person who has a name. But in the new metaphysical space, that is a changed, altered space, which obviously would necessitate the need for usernames, which Brian Oblivion shows very early on in the film that usernames or stage names or TV names, as he calls it, are going to be our real names, which to a lot of people they are. I mean, the way people communicate on Twitter, I mean, the things people say on Twitter alone, behind a username that's not really their name is astounding. The things people say on social media and such through their username without revealing their actual identity gives them license to say things and have a persona that is beyond what they are as just a person sitting in a room. It is the beginning, I think, that of the concept that you can transcend your three-dimensional space through the metaphysical media, such as, as far as the movie goes, television and film and VHS. But in today's world, that's obviously just the internet, social media, and movies. Brian Oblivion, basically a predictor of what society is now and what it'll become even more like down the future. He understands that a screen is actually inherently more engaging than a physical face-to-face experience. That is why he exists, at least his reasoning why he exists on the TV show in a TV is so that his co-hosts will pay attention to him more because they're looking at a television. And he realizes that is going to be the ultimate attention grabber, and today's society is no different. The amount of screens that we have in our lives have only increased. I mean, you have a television screen, you have a computer screen, you have a laptop screen, you have a tablet screen, you have a phone screen. You go to work, you're typing on a computer screen, you're looking at things on screens constantly. It is the sort of the cipher of the metaphysical world that is more appealing to us than seeing something in the physical realm now. As far as conveying information, receiving and transmitting information, it is, and in a lot of ways, it's even more comfortable than having a human-to-human interaction. The far-off future that Brian Oblivion predicts that I think is going to come true is the concept of him uploading his mind to Videodrome or becoming one with Videodrome, and his consciousness becoming all of the physical, metaphysical media that is the VHS tape in the film. Obviously, the modern day equivalent of that is the concept of someone being able to upload their mind, their brain, to the internet or to a computer, or to have it in some sort of metaphysical space and no longer need the physical form of a body. I think that this is something that's definitely most likely going to happen with things like Neuralink and Ray Kurzweil's predictions of the singularity of man. And that is, I think, going to be the ultimate predictor of Brian Oblivion, of the fact that we will no longer need our physical forms. And I think as a record, or I don't know, I guess as a record, is you could consider him the first character in the history of stories, maybe, definitely probably in the history of cinema, as one of the very first characters to upload their consciousness to something else. Obviously, the modern day application would be the internet or a computer, but to him, in 1983, uploading his consciousness to VHS tapes. In Videodrome, we're pretty directly told that actual Videodrome, the metaphysical concept, the program of Videodrome, is controlled by the government, the Illuminati, the man behind the curtain, the people who are really truly pulling the puppet strings of society. And that is another thing that I truly, in a lot of ways, believe is another signifier of the future of what we're existing in. Things can be changed now that were originally unchangeable. Video files can be changed. Video files can be altered, and in today's world, that is practically as good as it actually happening is a video file of something. The concept of something being set in stone in history is changing, and the government is obviously using this as a way to manipulate how we live and what we do with media, with the metaphysical space that is in the movie equivalent of Videodrome. It's they don't want someone who has control over all the media that they want, that has the ability to see things in an objective light. They want things to be able to be seen in a subjective light of seeing things the way they want to see it, and that is Videodrome. In the movie, the program is a test pilot to be used to basically militarize the Western world to fight the rest of the world in an upcoming World War III scenario. And obviously, the way that they go about it with Max is by far not the prettiest and the nicest way of doing it. They turn him into basically a Manchurian candidate or a sleeper cell, murdering people and trying to control society, which is basically the metaphor that Videodrome having control over Max is he is a representative of the grotesque, the perverse things in society, and Videodrome controls him and changes him to, instead of being who he is and who he really wants to being the person that they want him to be. In controlling him, they can try and control the rest of society. And the way they do this isn't by strong-arming Max. They don't strong-arm Max into being the tool that they use to try and manipulate society, to try and change the world, to try and clean the place up, and maybe use some ethos to try and convince him to change his ways, instead of being a smut peddler, to try and be a better, more upstanding person and a better TV executive. They entice him with the very thing that they're trying to change. They entice him with the perverse, with the titillating concepts of the ultimate mix of sex and violence, and the ultimate adrenaline pumping experience. They give him a taste and then they take it away, which then only makes him want to have more, become more engrossed with Videodrome, and allows himself to be completely taken over by it. The final act of Videodrome pits Videodrome, the program, being used by the U.S. government or Illuminati, whatever sort of shadowy figure you want to choose to put over the people who run Videodrome, against what Brian Oblivion calls the New Flesh, which is run by his daughter. The New Flesh is the concept that to truly have the experience that Max desires, to truly transcend our corporeal form and become one with the media that we're experiencing, you have to give up your physical form and purely exist in the metaphysical space of, obviously at the time they didn't have it, but obviously of the internet or computers. That there's So then your experience of the media is a pure one-for-one experience. And the battle between Videodrome trying to control people with that versus the new flesh is a Videodrome trying to create basically a dystopian cyberpunk world of media controlling people to do what they want them to do, versus the new flesh, which is sort of a enlightened concept of this one for one existence being the euphoria that life can be, of experiencing something that is so real, that it's so perfect, that it's so simple and easy to do. And I think that these concepts for the future and for the current events of Videodrome, of the fight between Videodrome and the new flesh, is very indicative of the dystopian / utopian future that people have sort of seen our path of the world go on. The world is full of tech companies who have the sleek chrome finish that seem like they exist from another world, where the world is perfect and you have your perfect laptop, you have your perfect device in front of you, and it beams the perfect thing into you to satisfy you completely. And if you just buy that product, it'll save you so much time and energy, and it'll give you exactly what you want out of life. And that is what they sell, and that's what this product is, the interface that you will use to experience life in such an enjoyable way that it'll be perfect for you. And then if you look at the flip side of that, of the societal controls that we're going through right now, with the fact that we are not told everything. We're, as people, we as the normal person in day-to-day life, we're not told who's really pulling the strings with certain things. We're not given a full scope of our, what our governments do, what our lives are, and in a lot of ways we're controlled in that way. And the dystopian world is being slowly created in that way. We're being given an iPad and being told, this is all you need for your perfect life is your iPad. Whereas the reality is no, your perfect life involves an iPad, but you also need so many other things. You need a real world, a livable world that's not environmentally destroyed, a way to make an income. The fight between Videodrome and the new flesh is the battle with ourselves and technology, in the sense that technology can save us, but can it save us in time from ourselves? It seems like today's society that Videodrome is sort of prophesizing is going towards a boom or bust situation. Either the baseline will be lifted up for everybody, and we will all live in this nirvana of the new flesh that will be one-for-one existence in a metaphysical reality that will be perfect for us and perfectly tailored to us, and it will be wonderful and we will enjoy it immensely. Or we will be stuck in Videodrome and we will be forced to bend our will to whoever controls Videodrome, and it will be hell, and we won't have a say in our lives, we'll have no agency, and we'll be forced to live off the small amount of scraps that will be thrown to us from the people who are really pulling the strings of Videodrome. And that is where the sort of dark ending of Videodrome comes into play. Is Max decides to stop fighting Videodrome at the end and take his own life to join the new flesh, to reach nirvana or heaven, instead of staying and continuing to fight Videodrome. And it's in a way of him giving up, but it is also a way of him choosing the easier way out, instead of trying to change the world, which is obviously unchangeable from his position, and instead joining the new flesh in the metaphysical world. And you can say that there's obviously the possibility that he actually is joining the new flesh, or you could say it's very possible that he's just committing suicide because either A, Brian Oblivion's daughter is telling him to do it so that they can't use him against her, and they can't get any information from him, or B, he is telling himself this lie so that he doesn't have to experience the pain of loss that of his situation, he's unable to truly take out Videodrome, and so his way out is telling himself that killing himself will put him in nirvana, to be one with the new flesh. Well, thank you for listening to me talk about Videodrome in probably way too deep of ways than you were probably expecting or needing.
What's this? Videodrome.
But personally, I think that this is an amazing film, in my opinion, as far as prophesizing our future, as far as commentary on media. There's no other films that come even close to doing as well, and as well as being as entertaining as it is. Trans-dimensional existences of Max's fantasies becoming real life. Truly, the lie that media plays on you is to tell you that it's infiniteless, that you can watch the media, experience the media, consume the media however you want, and you can do it forever, and it'll never end. That the enjoyment factor will always be there. And in many ways it does, but also eventually, I haven't, in my personal experience, haven't enjoyed it forever. Eventually you have to take a break. I have to cut the cord for about a week or so and not really indulge myself, and then eventually, you get back into it, and you can, you enjoy a movie, you enjoy a TV show, you enjoy a video game, but eventually you get a level of diminishing returns where you have to take a break from it all. And that's, I think, the main lesson from Videodrome is, with media, you have to learn to take a break every once in a while. You can't always just be consuming, because there's no growth from that. You have to turn it off and then eventually gestate what you consumed to be able to grow as a person from that. If you just keep consuming, there is no growth. You're just an endless consumer of what you're consuming, and it never ends, but there's no growth. Thanks for listening to me talk about one of my favorite movies in depth. I hope you enjoyed the analysis. If you like these types of videos, keep watching and like it, and I'll probably make another one sometime in the future. Thanks for listening, and catch you next time.
Sí, patrón.